What's going on, my fellow Kino Lords? So I got a special, different kind of video today for you guys. I never done anything like this before, but um, first of all, the topic of this video is top five horrors of the 21st century. Um, and this is a genre y'all know that I have loved to death. I mean, as an aspiring filmmaker, all the films that I've made have been horror. And I decided to invite somebody else on the channel who also really loves horror, and I also really admire their stuff and their channel, and that is Sammy's Reviews. So welcome to the video, Sammy. If you would like, you can tell us all about yourself and your channel.
Thank you, Carlos. First of all, I love your channel. I'm so excited to be here, really.
Thank you.
I've been following you for years now.
Thank you.
So I'm Sam. I have a channel called Sammy's Reviews where I review lots of stuff. Not necessarily movies only, but I do video games, music albums, whatever just excites me. That's it. I also love horror. I adore horror. I've been like on a horror discovery journey for years because I'm just really interested in how this genre can just include so much ideas and so much visions.
Absolutely, I agree. Like one thing I love so much about horror is that I feel like better than any genre, it tackles and explores like the anxieties of the human psyche better than like any other genre. It just
Definitely.
really, yeah, it just really like dives deep into the more like repressionary aspects of the human mind, and I just love it so much for that. And also, I just love kind of being on edge. Like as somebody who like loves movies, I just love it when a movie is always keeping me in suspense and feeling on edge. I don't know why. I don't know why I like that, but I do. um,
It's human nature.
yeah, I guess so. But yeah, by the way, Sammy's in Egypt. I think everybody should just know that. um,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
all the way across the universe.
yeah. So like it's 1:30 where I'm at. So I think over there it's 8:30. There's like a 7 hour difference. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it
Yeah,
is. Yep.
that's exactly.
So I mean, I appreciate you, Sammy, for coming on and like accommodating your schedule, obviously because of the time difference and putting that into consideration. It means a lot. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, Carlos. That's so nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. All right. So, did you want to talk about like any films you've seen recently before we like dive into this list, or any movies you want to give a shout out, like recent movies?
Okay, so I just saw Furiosa yesterday, and I've been thinking about it nonstop. It's such a
Yes.
good movie. It was like one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it delivered. I was so excited. My expectations were too high, but I just felt like every single thing that I adored about Fury Road, I found it in there,
Yes.
and every
I
single
agree.
thing that it added, it was just doing everything right. I loved it.
Yes, dude, I can't agree more. Like Furiosa was a film that I mean, obviously I expected a lot of things out of it because I am in love with Fury Road. That is one of my all-time favorite action films. If not my honestly, it might be my favorite action movie ever made. It is just like Fury
Yes.
Road, it just does everything that you would love about an action movie, but like 10 times more. And obviously with Furiosa, and like I think it was like a 9 year wait, basically. 9 or 6 years, I don't remember. But either way, I was going into Furiosa expecting a lot, and it still delivered like so much. Like Furiosa, I saw it twice already. That movie is so fucking rad. It just offers so much in every department. Like even in the action spectacle element, it delivers all that. And in terms of like world building, it actually kind of like expands a bit more than Fury Road. Fury Road is kind of, I mean, it's a large scale movie, but in terms of like location exploring, it's a little bit like contained. Um, but Furiosa is kind of like it expands more on like world building. We get to see like more locations and stuff like that. And there's more, it's almost a more like story driven film too. Like that's kind of what I love about Furiosa is that it's not like a carbon copy of Fury Road. It's like
True.
it decides to do what we love about Fury Road, except have a more like story and character driven film. And that's one thing that I really loved about it. But yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you shouted that movie out. It's so good.
True. And I also seen that I have seen Challengers.
Oh,
Love that
yes.
one. I
Yeah.
loved that one. Honestly, going into it, I was not so excited. I was just weirded out by the idea that Luca Guadagnino is directing a sports movie. I was like,
Hmm.
but I was so sold. I adored it. I loved it so much. I think it's also a character study, and it has three of like the craziest characters I've seen the entire year. There's just so much to unpack and so much like, you know, so much emotions that you have to be kind of dissecting what's happening and what are they thinking and what are their motives. And so many of them have ulterior motives. I
Yeah.
also loved that movie.
All Challengers is so good. The more I think about the movie, the more I love it, honestly. Like
True,
I just love I agree. Like I just love the characters and the character dynamics like so much. Like it just makes it so it makes it so engaging and like stylistically it's just so cool too. Like the way the score is used throughout the film. It like gives a really interesting personality to the whole like visual style of the movie. And I don't know, it's just a
true.
really cool movie. I remember I like, I talked to some people who didn't like it that much because all the characters are like they're not likable. It's like, you don't have to have like the characters don't have to be likable to be interesting and engaging. That's why I never really understood that argument. People say that. Like as long as there's substance in the character, they have an interesting personality that keeps you hooked, then I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think unlikable characters is a challenging thing to be directing.
Yeah.
So as a director, if you're choosing an unlikable character, you have to like kind of sell me. I want to be like I want to just understand where is he coming from and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think we should. No, I don't like this argument so much. I just think that unlikable characters are more challenging and they're more demanding, definitely, from the viewer to understand and kind of,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
just understand them in general.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's a lot more difficult for a filmmaker to make unlikable characters still engaging and allow the audience to still be engaged with the material. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. Um, so one film that I saw recently, since we're talking about horror, is a film called In a Violent Nature. I put out a review for that like yesterday, and it's basically in a nutshell like an art house slasher film where the kind of style, or I guess gimmick, if you want to call it, is like we follow the slasher throughout the entire film. So everything that we see is from the perspective of the slasher, not like first person perspective, but like third person, to where the entire movie is like we're getting like over the shoulder shots or like behind the back shots. And it's just like him walking around the forest in that very slow speed, and it's kind of a slow burn. But it's a really interesting experiment on the slasher genre. And, I don't want to say too much here, but I'll just say that I liked a lot of things about it. Um, it's very like the filmmaker himself said that he was inspired by like Terrence Malick style of filmmaking and Gus Van Sant style of filmmaking and for some of his films. And he wanted to make a slasher film based on those filmmaking styles. And I just thought interesting. And I think that is honestly the most interesting part of the movie. Like it's what elevates it and makes it unique. Um, there's certain things about it that I'm not sure. Like I'm kind of on the fence about some stylistic choices that kind of conflict with that elevated art house style. But overall, I think it's a film that people should at least give a watch and see what they think about it because it is a unique kind of movie. Um, so yeah, that's my like
That
recommendation.
sounds great.
Oh yeah,
I will
like
I will definitely look out for that one.
for sure. It's a Shutter original, so I'm sure it's gonna start like streaming on Shutter pretty soon. Like I give it like a month or something till it starts streaming, so you should be able to see it soon, hopefully. Um,
Yeah, hopefully.
but yeah, all right, that's enough. Let's go ahead and start this thing. You're my guest, so I think you should go first, and I'll give you the honor. So give me your number five favorite horror film of the 21st century.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so actually, there's like this movie that I was debating whether should I put it on my list or not, just because it's a pretty new release, and I just don't think it gained or earned this
Yeah,
place. But I just rewatched it yesterday, and oh, I love it. I had to.
yeah.
Okay, so number five on my list is going to be Pearl by Kai West.
Oh my God. Surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay. That's cool.
Okay, so Pearl is a part of like a trilogy thingy that's going on, with being X, the first movie, then Pearl, then Maxine, that's gonna come out this year.
Yeah.
Okay, the director is Ty West, and I love him. I just love what he's doing. Honestly, oh my God, it's just he's so in love with movies, and you can feel that. Mia Goth. Mia Goth is the main character of his three movies. I love her. Something about her, just she's such a she has a broad spectrum. She can be a very innocent looking person, and she can be a scary looking person. And both of these things can happen in the same scene.
Yeah.
And it just takes someone like Mia Goth to be able to carry on this trilogy. So like
Yeah,
for
I
me,
agree with
Pearl
that.
is definitely
Mia Goth is incredible. Like, I just think I don't know. To me, she has quite a bit of range because, like you said, like she could be like adorable and lovable in one scene and then be a complete psycho in the next. And I just think she's like a queen right now when it comes to the horror genre. She's like a horror queen right now, like an icon. Um,
definitely.
so yeah. Did you want to say anything more about it?
Yeah, I just
Mhm.
want to say that I love the aesthetic of the movie in general, how it's kind of, it feels like an 80s movies or something. It's very Wizard of Oz inspired with like the transitions between the scene, the beautiful soundtrack. It's very vintage, كده, like very aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it very fairy tale like. It feels like you are watching a nightmarish fairy tale. And the transition of Mia Goth's character, Pearl in general, from being just a normal girl who's like a bit isolated and has like a little tendency for violence, into a full-on kind of a slasher girl. Oh, I love that. It's such a good transition. It's so smooth, and you can understand where she's coming from. Again, if people who were having like the argument of unlikable characters, like if you have an unlikable character, like someone who does things that is just things that are immoral in general, I have to understand where she's coming from. Being isolated with like her mother who was so mean to her father who's just like he's kind of a burden, and having a husband who's away, and just it feels, like the motives of why she's being so violent. It's just there. I understand it. I'm kind of rooting for her as well. And it gives it like such a suffocating or claustrophobic sense to it, with like how really really secluded the place where she lives is. I just felt like I hate the house, I hate the barn, I hate like the lake that has the crocodile in it. And
Yeah.
I could feel like all the resentment that she has towards this place. And the more the movie goes on, and the more she's like really violent with the idea that she wants to leave this place. Um, and there's just like a lingering eeriness throughout the entire movie, the best way possible. Um, yeah, I just think that this is a very well-made movie, and I was really really on the fence whether should I put it or not, because it was just out last year. It doesn't deserve like this place, but rewatching it yesterday, I couldn't like blink. So yeah, Pearl, love it.
Well, I love that you love that movie so much. There's a lot of people on my server. I'm gonna shout out Blair. Like Blair is in love with that movie, but she's also in love with like Mia Goth, like in general. But she loves also like the X and Pearl, but she also thinks Pearl's like so far like the better one. But yeah, I guess a little bit of a hot take. I'm not like in love with Pearl. I think I gave it like a strong 6 out of 10 or something. But like,
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah, like I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I can't even remember exactly why I wasn't in love with it, but all I can remember is that I think it just I think it just needed to offer like more. I think I felt like it was a little like simplistic.
Small scaled.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Mm.
Honestly, I need to watch it again, but I remember thinking it was like had a great performance. Like Mia Goth was great, and then you had like some really like suspenseful and like brutal scenes that I liked quite a bit. Um, but I guess overall, like as a character piece, I just kind of wanted more out of it. But I don't know. Thinking about it now, maybe a 6 was a little too harsh, but I don't know. I gotta watch it again,
Yeah, you
honestly.
think?
I gotta watch it again. We'll see. I do like the ending of the movie where she just like stares at the camera for such a long time. That's
Love
a
that. Oh,
yeah,
such a good scene.
yeah, the
She keeps
crazy
like
performance.
smiling, and the smile keeps getting worse and worse, and now it's creepy.
Yeah, that was incredible. So I think it's awesome that you have that in your list though. I think that's really fucking cool. I was not expecting that.
I wasn't
Um,
expecting it either. I was like, it was not on like the top five, but yesterday when
mhm.
I was watching it, I was like, I gotta do this. I can't. The urge.
All right then. All right, I'm gonna go on to mine then. By the way, we're gonna do our honorable mentions at the very end. I thought, that
Okay.
way I figured something like that might be kind of like better. That way people don't try to like think what we're gonna say because they're gonna like deduct everything that we said in our mentions. So just keep it more suspenseful, I guess. Um, all right, so my number five of the 21st century is a really special and fun kind of horror film. By the way, um, I can just presume that a lot of our picks are going to be more like art house horror movies. Not all of them, but I just think in general, like if you clicked on this video to see like, horror movies in the more like conventional sense, then I'm sorry, I think maybe you came to the wrong video. um, this
True.
is this is more like, like atmospheric art house approach to horror filmmaking, just because that's what I love more in horror, personally. But anyway, with that being said, my number five horror film of the 21st century is a little film called Mandy. Um, this
Love
movie,
Mandy.
man, Mandy, this is such a special film to me because I watched this at like a one show time showing for it. It was just like the only time they were going to show this movie in theaters, and I was like, all right, let's do it. So I drove like 40 minutes away to go to that showing, and what a theater experience that was. That was such a cool experience. Like, really packed theater, but like nobody was like rude about it. Like if they were reacting, it was because like it's appropriate to react the way they were. They weren't like talking rudely or just being like an asshole about the whole experience. Like they were just reacting and having so much fun to the actual film itself, and it just made everything such a really cool experience. And yeah, this movie is just so cool. It's directed by Panos Cosmatos, and he crafted such a uniquely structured cosmic horror film, that thematically resonated a lot with me too, because like thematically speaking, this film kind of like, to me, like explores the toxic nature of cults and kind of blurs the line between like religions and cults themselves, and how like narcissism can be embedded within this way of thinking. And thematically, I thought it was great, but then it also just makes for a kick-ass like revenge movie. And it's so weird because after I watched the movie for the first time, the first half of this movie I was absolutely in love with because it had such this slow atmospheric vibe to it that was brought to life with such beautiful uses of lighting and cinematography and like style, and I was just like absorbed into the entire thing. And then the second half of this movie, it just turns into a straight up like Nick Cage revenge badass movie. And it was difficult for me to like transition my mind into those two like jarringly different approaches to horror filmmaking. Um, and it's when I talk to people about that, a lot of people had the opposite reaction. They were like, "Oh, the first half I was having trouble getting into. I didn't like it, and then the second half I was in love with it." So like I was one of the only ones that was in love with the first half and didn't care for the second half that much. But after rewatching it like 3 or 4 times, like even on the first rewatch, I was like, okay, nah. I think once I geared my mind to understand what this film was, it was a lot easier just to be on board with it. And and yeah, I love everything about this movie, honestly. Like yeah, like I said, I love the slow absorbing nature of the first half, but that second half is just so like it is brutality in its funnest form. Like it is just, and if you want a great Nick Cage like unhinged performance, it delivers that too. Like I hate when like Nick Cage is going to be in like some horror movie or some kind of movie and you really want like moments where Nick Cage, does his caging out thing and like his whole like personality stick to his acting style, but there's nothing there. Mandy delivers that. Like Mandy will give you everything that you love about a Nick Cage performance. And he is just absolutely unhinged in that second half. I mean, it is brutal, it's bloody. The in terms of like the practical effects is just really great in terms of the costume design of these weird like alien creature things. Um just a really, really brutal and great fun time. And yeah, I don't know. This movie is just it's just like so much fun. And I just love it. I love it. I love the aesthetic. I love the style. I love how unique it is. And Nick Cage gives you what you love about him in the movie. So yeah, love Mandy to death.
I love that you chose Mandy. I loved Mandy when I saw it. Sadly, I was dying to rewatch it, but I didn't have the time. But I remember that this is the movie that kind of concretized Nicolas Cage's new persona in
Yep.
general. Yeah, it's just like he was fully Nicolas Cage. And after that, I think lots of directors kind of tried to get that performance out of him again in different movies,
Yeah.
but nothing is like Mandy. In Mandy, he understood his role. He was like, I know what you want from me. I'ma go crazy. Just
Yeah.
let me be. So
Yeah.
I love Mandy. And it has a very beautiful aesthetic and vibe to it, atmosphere in general.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just love how the movie has like this bookmark in it where we get that we get that scene of Nick Cage in the bathroom when he just freaks
Yes,
out. And it's like a perfect like
yeah.
benchmark slash transition to get the audience to know like, okay, it's gonna be this kind of movie now. And it was just such
Exactly. And
a
in that scene, he's going through like the stages of grief. And like they're
yeah,
all like happening too fast and he's like
yeah,
feeling everything at once.
yeah. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Like it's beautiful. Like it's again, it's everything that you would want out of a Nick Cage performance. And in terms of like structure and like directing, it was a great like stylistic choice to kind of have that moment, and then we can go on from there. On the rest of the movie where Nick Cage just fucking cages the fuck out and gets some, seeks vengeance the entire movie. It's just really awesome. It's also a very like psychedelic and like drug induced movie. Um, just a really like fucking
True.
trippy, horrific movie. And not in terms of like visuals. Well, yeah, in visuals too, but just in like vibe. Like the vibe overall just feels very trippy. Um, so yeah, I love Mandy to death. I'm glad you love it too. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is really. Okay, so my turn.
Yes, your turn.
The fourth movie on my list. And the worst one I've seen so far. This movie, when I rewatched it, it really messed up with my mind. I'm gonna tell you, like I had like nightmares for 3 days straight, and it's a messed up movie. So it is I Saw the Devil,
Nice.
directed by Kim Jin-won, and it's a 2010 Korean horror revenge story. I don't know from where to start. All I can tell you that this movie, you, people will never recover. Like honestly, I just think the the transition of a normal person to a monster and how it can happen to all of us. This is like the thing that just like like it messed me up. Just this thought. So I think this Korean cinema in general is a very experimental cinema, specifically with horror. They are like really extreme. They have like freedom with like their ideas and how they're gonna execute them. So Korean cinema in general is a harsh cinema, specifically in horror. And I Saw the Devil is one of the harshest movies in the Korean cinema. So should I just say the synopsis first?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it follows a dude who has his wife. His wife has been kidnapped and killed by an enthusiastic serial killer. He's just so enthusiastic about killing, it's crazy. And the yeah, the thing is, the main character whose wife went missing, and later on abducted and died. So he has to now seek revenge. But he doesn't want just your normal revenge. He doesn't just want to shoot the guy, decapitate the guy, just like do something nasty with the guy. No, he wants him to feel like he's being chased. He wants him to feel unsafe. He wants him to feel like, the same pain that he made his wife feel. And this specific idea has like so many things blossoming from it because it keeps getting crazier. Like each time they meet and he leaves him so he can like make him feel like he's being chased, it gets nastier because the other dude is like, he's so happy with this idea. He's into it. So they keep like chasing each other and they keep like, you know, um, thinking of more horrible ways to get back at each other. And the craziest thing is that the dude, the main character whose wife went missing, it was a normal dude. He was normal. He was married. He was like had a he had a normal job and stuff like that. And then suddenly he became a monster. And you can look into his eyes throughout the movie, and he's a monster. He's dead. There is no going back. You know. I
Yeah.
think this movie has great choreography in general. Korean cinema specifically has great choreography. The main characters usually train so hard in the fighting scenes, and they have really, really brilliant fighting scenes in general. Um, I think also like the two main characters, they required a lot of physicality because again, fighting scenes were very well made. It felt like these people has been going to the gym for like 5 years in order to make like this fight scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, great pacing. You will never feel like bored or anything. You keep like getting slapped on the face like a minute after minute. Um, there's just non-stop action in general. Also, it has some of the best lighting and cinematography in general. Really yellow shots, really blue shots, really red shots in the best way possible. It's such a like a very aesthetically pleasing movie. And yeah, it's brutal, it's gruesome, it's really gory, and yeah, this is like my pick. I saw the devil.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's another movie that I wanted to rewatch, but I didn't get the chance. But from what I remember from it, honestly, if you want to hear better thoughts about this movie from my perspective, just watch the review that I did for this movie like three or
I
four.
did.
Oh, you did? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I loved it.
That's awesome. I hope it was good because I don't remember what the hell I said. That was like 4 years ago.
No,
But
it was great.
awesome. Yeah. But from what I remember, yeah, like that movie is like an experience. It's a revenge movie unlike your normal revenge movie. And that's a difficult task because the revenge genre has been done so much. So I think it's a very like creative obstacle for a filmmaker to tackle this and bring something different to the table. And I think that he did do a great job because this movie is, I remember, unlike anything that I've seen. And it's also again like you said something like this in the beginning, but it's a very like boundary pushing movie too. Like there's scenes in this movie I was like, damn, like there's like this scene of like it's sexual assault and Choi Min Sik is insane in this movie. He is menacing.
Amazing.
Yeah, he is
Yeah,
disgusting, menacing, and just that scene alone, I was like, damn, this movie is really going there, and it's fucking terrifying. Um, and and yeah, I also remember like in terms of presentation, the lighting in this movie is fantastic. The quality is like so crisp, and the lighting is beautiful. Like it's a really like in terms of content, it's like horrendous, but in terms of lighting, it actually looks quite pretty. Like there's a lot of like greens and yellows and
true,
reds throughout the movie. It's very colorful, and
true.
that's one thing that really stuck out to me about the movie as well. They put a lot of like a lot of attention to detail when it comes to like the color palette and the lighting and the overall like quality of the movie and how it looks because it looks really really good. Um,
I
but
totally
yeah,
agree.
I think that's all I got to say about it. I don't remember. I mean, I remember a bit about it, but I don't. It's not fresh in my head to give like more thoughts, unfortunately.
If
Um,
you want to sleep at night, just don't rewatch it. Keep it
You
there. Keep it safe in there.
okay. Next, actually, what is next? Let me check my list. By the way, follow Sammy's reviews on Letterboxd, everybody. By the way,
Thanks.
you have an amazing top four, by the way. I saw Bardo up there. I was like, dude, another Bardo fan. Like it's so hard to find somebody who
Oh, I
loves that
love
movie.
Bardo.
Yeah, it's so hard to find somebody who
Yeah.
loves that movie. Everybody's so mixed on it, and I am in love with that movie. I like it a lot.
I think you have like a certain fascination with cinema in general to like
Uh-huh.
really
Yeah.
be completely devoured by this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Here's my number four. Sucks because I there's like two or three movies in this list that I own. I know that I owned, but I can't fucking find them. I don't know what happened to them. I
Oh
think
my God, it happens to me all the time.
I can't find them. I don't know. I know I owned them. Like I bought them like when they came out, and I don't know where they are. The only thing I can think of is I lent them to somebody and they never gave it back. That's all I can think of.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it happens
That's
to
a
me all the time.
nightmare.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, my number four on the list is a film that I believe came out in 2014. Could be wrong, but from memory, I think that's when it came out. And it's a film directed by Robert Eggers, and I am talking about The Witch. Yeah, The Witch is, oh my God, like such like in terms of simple masterfully crafted horror. The Witch is everything that you want. Like it doesn't try to like do anything crazy with the genre. It doesn't try to do like anything crazy with the story, but yet it's like one of the most compelling horror films I've ever seen in my entire life. Just because of vision and craft and just his ability to create atmosphere is unlike any like contemporary filmmaker that we have. I think Robert Eggers is like an atmospheric master at this point. Um, like this movie is incredibly bleak. I love how bleak and dreary this film is. Like everything from like the color palette and the color correction and the lighting and the aesthetic, like of the forest and the props and the production design. It is just so visually and emotionally bleak. It is, and that's something that I really love in horror. Like if you can make me feel that way, like throughout the entire experience, I think that you've made a good horror movie just with that alone. Um, and yeah, what other things are great about it? I mean, the performances are great all across the board. Everybody in this movie is really, really great. Even the little kids are fucking like creepy as hell.
Yeah. I
The
think this
goat
was Anya Taylor-Joy's debut.
Anna Taylor-Joy's. This was like her, like pretty much like her breakout. It was like her debut, and it was a breakout performance basically. Like ever since this movie, like she basically blew up, and like a bunch of other filmmakers wanted to have her in their movie. So pretty crazy movie for her as well. And and yeah, even the goat Black Phillip in this movie gives a great performance. Like it's just
True.
like everybody in this film is so good, and the suspense building and the tension in this movie is just like ungodly. Like it is so good. Um, I mean that scene in the forest where the little boy meets the witch for the first time is just my God. That is honestly probably one of my favorite horror movie moments like ever. It is so brilliantly like built up, the way that like the camera flows throughout that scene, the slow motion, the score, everything just comes together in that scene, and it is such like again, it's so absorbing and it's so haunting, and it's just so good. And I love how the film like 90% of it is really just like suspense and tension. There's not really like any jump scares in the movie. There's one kind of like climactic kind of jump scare that's like basically takes place with where we see like the actual witch's face for the first time, like in the barn. But it's still in terms as far as jump scares go, it's really subtle and minimal, and it's so effective. It is fucking creepy as hell, and I don't know. Just this movie is so good. The ending is also fucking amazing. Such a creepy and haunting ending, and I don't know. It just takes your breath away, that ending. But yeah, I don't know. The Witch. I've talked about this movie a lot before. Um, but I mean, I could talk all day about this movie. It's just so fucking great. Even though I was kind of traumatized by my theater experience of this movie, which I have talked about on this channel before. But like the first time I went to go see this movie, it was ruined by like literally like people that were way older than me. I was like 22 or something at the time, probably younger. And these like 30-year-old like it was two women that were like over the age of 30 and then one guy he was like also like 30 something. And they just came in laughing and talking and they just ruined the whole freaking thing. And I almost got into like a physical altercation for the first time in my life because of that. Like I asked them to be
Oh my
quiet.
God, it's
Yeah.
horrible.
I asked them to please be quiet, like respectfully, and they just got louder. Like they laughed at me and they got louder. And let's just say it got ugly after that. But it's weird because like I made a point. I forgot what I said. I think I said something along the lines of like, you guys may not care about this movie. You guys are just here because y'all have nothing to do like on a Tuesday. But like I waited for a long time and I specifically came at this time so no one would ruin it, and you guys are ruining it. And then after that, they just shut up and they didn't say a peep throughout the entire thing. So that was
Wow.
a yeah, that was a weird W. I didn't think it was gonna end like that. But anyway, that's an aside. Either way, like after that experience, I still like went back to the theater again, and it was a much better experience. And then I watched it so many times when I bought the Blu-ray, and it's just an amazing movie. I could watch it over and over and over again and never get tired of it. So, yeah, The Witch. That's my number four.
Oh my God, I love The Witch. I don't want to speak of it because it might be appearing on my list
Okay.
somewhere. Okay.
All right.
But speaking of traumatic cinema experience, comes in my third movie, Hereditary.
Oh
So
yes.
oh my God, I was dying to see this movie, and I drove an hour because this is where the cinema that had like a better venue. And when I went in there, for some reason, it was like a random dude or random teenager's birthday. So there was like 30 dudes going into the cinema to celebrate someone's birthday in Hereditary. Like, oh my God, who
That sounds
thought
a
that's a good
nightmare.
idea?
That's more traumatizing than the movie.
Yeah, exactly. True. I couldn't even focus. I remember after I finished the movie, I went back to the ticket thingy and I booked another screening because I was like, I haven't seen the movie. I was too busy, like I
Wait,
couldn't
so
hear. Imagine like you.
so when you say someone celebrated a birthday party in the movies, explain more. Like did they like
Okay,
bring out a
okay,
cake and they sing happy birthday during the movie? Like what? I'm trying to picture this.
okay. So imagine this. Like happy Salma is there in the cinema, very excited to
Okay.
see Hereditary,
Okay.
and comes in 30 teenagers holding birthday like balloons and birthday like confettis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they came and sat, and they came and sat at the very end of the cinema.
Okay.
And then suddenly, before the movie starts, they're like, "Happy birthday!" and blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's just please shut up." And then the movie starts, and they keep laughing on every single thing, even the decapitating like head scene. Like, oh my, how is this funny, you guys? So they kept on laughing, and I kept on, please, can you please like lower your voices? Can you please like stop laughing? Please, this is important. If you don't like the movie, and I ended up like actually um going to the security and asking him to, do something. And he's like, "Oh, it's okay. They're just little kids." I'm like, so I had to rebook the movie.
It's still disruptive. I don't care if they're kids. They're being disruptive and rude and
They weren't even kids. They
inconsiderate.
were like teenagers. They were like
Oh
15,
my
16.
God.
They're fully aware.
No, they need to be kicked out. But it's weird because like my
Yeah.
my my wherever I go to see movies, they don't take it seriously. Like if I complain about them, they just all they say is, "Well, I'll give you a guest pass for next time," but they don't like kick them out or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're kind of like scared of the idea that these people paid for to see this movie and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But I just don't like it when people just don't respect the craft. Like
Yeah.
I paid money, the director like paid money and effort and time and every single
Exactly.
person on like the crew of the movie. So you have to at least, if you don't like it, just don't watch it.
Yeah,
Easy.
that's the thing. They don't view movies as that way. I tell people this all the time. The thing is like most people that go to the movie theater, they just view movies as like either just a way to pass the time or just as like a piece of entertainment for them. That's about it. They don't view it in any higher form at all. They just think it's just there for their amusement, and therefore there, and that's it. So unfortunately, that's just the
Yeah,
world we live
exactly.
in.
Specifically, if it's a horror movie, people go in who are
Yeah,
not like movie fanatics. They go in just they want to scream, they
yeah,
want the adrenaline. They're just too
yeah,
like, hyper.
yeah. They're there. They're there just for like to have like this group, like you know, this group like
Exactly.
sensory, like reactionary, almost like show experience. That they're watching some sort of like show in front of them. It's like, dude, it's not. I get it. It's a horror movie. It's supposed to. It's a reactionary genre, but I don't know. People go into it, and to me, from my opinion, and not the most respectful way. I'll just say that.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. So, Hereditary,
Yep.
released in 2018, Ari Aster movie, Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, and Millie Shapiro. That's everything about the movie. So, I love Hereditary, and when I saw this movie, I just thought this is a perfect horror movie. And just the idea that this is a debut, that's scary.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
makes
it
me
is.
jealous.
Yeah. Same.
Like really, like some movies you see it and you're just admiring it, and some movies you see it and you're just jealous. You're like, oh my god, you're
Yep.
so talented. That's crazy. Because
I agree so
first of
much.
all, the story of the movie, if you said it to anyone, if you just told them, it feels like, a story that you have kind of seen before. A ghost story, or like people like, you know, using like forces and opening portals and stuff like that. But there's always room for uniqueness. There's always room for a director to add something to the table, as you said. So I just felt like Hereditary is a perfect horror movie. First of all, first shot, first shot in the movie of like the miniature like room, and we keep zooming in, and then there's a transition that this is like the actual room.
Oh, such a good
I
opening.
love
Yeah.
that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember the first thing I saw in this movie. I was like, what? How? How did you do that? That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that first shot. And the choice of the little girl and like the choice of her clicking, it's such an eerie choice. I developed a traumatic experience of this clicking. It really ears me when I hear people clicking now. Like the sound that she keeps doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I remember the movie was going fine until the decapitating head scene. This
Yep.
was the scariest thing I've ever seen because it was so like unexpected, out of nowhere, and I was like, "What?" Like, I understand if she died, but dying in that way, oh
Yeah.
my God!
Yep.
And the scariest thing that this could happen to any person. This is not like something weird. And I
Yeah.
remember Alex Wolff's reaction to her death, and
Oh my
he's just
God.
like not looking at the back seat. He's looking directly at the camera,
Yeah.
driving, and then he leaves the car, goes to bed, and the oh my God, the scream, the
Yep. Oh
mother's
my God.
scream when she
Yeah.
woke up next. This is the worst scream I've ever heard on in cinema in life,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's so full of agony and pain, and it physically hurts. It feels like someone just saw the worst thing in the world, and he's not
Yeah.
even like overreacting.
Yeah. That entire sequence is like the reason why I also like consider that one of the greatest horror movies ever, because that entire sequence is just so fucking horrific and traumatic. It like captures a traumatic experience, I think, better than any like movie I've ever seen, in terms of horror at least. It is so petrifying. I can't remember the last time I watched a movie and just felt absolutely petrified by it. Like I was as still as a board and just clenched up for like 15 minutes. It was just insane. Um, and yeah, like the decapitation scene, like you mentioned like the kids laughing at that and shit. I'm not like I've talked to people like grown adults like who also said they laughed at that, and I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. Like one of my friends in the server
Why?
said like his excuse was like, well, I just react that way because I didn't know how to react. But they said they felt like felt terror by it, but they just couldn't help but laugh or hold in their laughter. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't agree with that. your reaction because it's not as at all the way I would react to it. But whatever you say that, it's fine. But over like all in all, I don't really see how you could watch that and laugh at it like it's funny. Like it is just it is the most furthest. It's the furthest thing away from that, in my opinion.
Yeah, when I saw it, all I was thinking was, how am I gonna recover from that shock?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, this is all I was thinking. I was like, I saw the worst thing in the world. I saw like a child losing her head.
yeah,
Oh my God, how is this funny?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and
so
even crazier that it happens like in the middle of the movie, and not even in the middle, in the first act of the movie. Like when you
yeah,
watch the
it's in the first
trailer,
act.
yeah, you watch the first trailer. I mean, when you watch the trailer, you just the way it presents like that character, you think is going to be like a reoccurring character through the whole movie. Like you think, at least for the most of the movie, you think she's going to be there, and all of a sudden, first act, just like, bow, she's gone, in a brutal way.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. When I saw that scene, I was like, oh my God, now we're talking. Now
Yeah,
this is a
yeah,
movie. Let's talk, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah, 100% agree.
Also, I just admire every single like foreshadowing aspect in this movie. This movie is like a master class in foreshadowing, in the slightest and in the most, not in your face way. Just, before she got like her face. Oh my God! Before the decapitation scene, before like the decapitation scene, there was like a shot of the car moving, and then it stopped
It stops at the pole.
on like
That,
the
yeah,
exactly and the pole. And we were like, scene or whatever.
yeah,
And then before that, her parents were like, "Are you eating peanuts? Does this include
yeah,
nuts? Is your chocolate nut free?" A few times.
yeah.
And then like there was like this shot of like a head. Oh yeah, the headless bird, the bird
Oh
that just
yeah.
like flew in. So when that happened, you just this is like really the epitome of storytelling and how to structure your story and how to like make um a scene that you have showed it to your audience three, four times before, and they haven't known that, you know?
Yep.
So I love that. What else? Here's like my list of notes. That's why I'm looking down.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Mm, yeah, after like that scene happened, and there's like a lack of reaction in the family.
Yeah.
People are just not speaking about it. We can see that the mother has like a very passive aggressive demeanor to it with Alex Wolff's character. And you can see that Alex Wolff's character is had like no chance of kind of understanding what happened or fathoming the idea, and like he's grieving, but he's just too scared because later on in the movie you understand there's like some traumatic stories between him and his mother and like sleepwalking and stuff like that. So and the father, oh my God, that dude, he just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He's just, he's just an observant. He's not part of
Yeah.
the family. This didn't
Exactly.
happen to him.
Yeah, he's just like
So
caught in the
like,
middle of this crazy bullshit and he's just trying his best in this whole movie.
yeah. And I remember like the one of the very last scenes where Toni Collette's character was like, then again, I found it, and she's like cornering him. She's like, please just do this.
Yeah.
And just his eyes is like, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
another one of these days.
Yeah.
I gotta go to
Yeah.
work, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Exactly.
dude, man, you just lost a child. What the hell? So it was so weird. Um, so just like the passive aggressive tension between the family, and it keeps on rising. And they, first of all, we start the movie with a funeral. We start with them losing someone already, and then they lost another someone throughout the movie, and all of this negative energy or like the grief, the depression, all of these, not so nice feelings are being oppressed inside them. No one is talking about it. It's just people are trying to find a safe haven to, just talk about this. And this is where Joanne's character comes in. Of course, we know later on that she is like, all of this is a plan. It's a very intricate plan. But she comes in the most honest and sincere, and she's too nice and she's too sweet, and she wants to just help the woman that just lost a child. And actually, when I saw this movie for the first time, I was just done watching The Leftovers. the TV series, and it had like this actress in a very similar role of like a messed up person. And so yeah, so just them talking out, and her, Toni Collette's character, learning more about how to open portals, how to communicate with the other side, and learning that she can kind of undo this. She can, have her child in another way in her life, and she's kind of like trying to glue back her family with this. And again, as I told you in I Saw the Devil, the scariest thing about this movie is that it can happen to all of us. When you're that desperate, when you're that, sad, something horrible happened to you can easily be swayed, or you can easily just, cling onto something, even if it doesn't make so much sense to you in general. And this is why Joanne's character understood that Tony Collette's character is like this rock bottom. She will do anything. She will do anything to just glue this family back together. And the movie keeps heightening, heightening, heightening. And at a certain point, specifically the last 15 minutes or so, where Toni Collette's character went up to the roof and she found like her mother's headless body.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how? And then I remember the father's character. He came in and she's like, "Oh my God, just go upstairs. You will understand everything."
Yeah.
And he went upstairs and he's like, "Oh my God, what is that doing in here?" I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so." Oh. But did you dig her up from that grave? I got an email from the funeral service, and I love his character because he's just, he adds so much. He's such a provocative character. You feel like
Yeah.
you just want to punch him.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like just the transition of Alex Wolff's character into Payman, or the god or whatever, that is like using him as a vessel, is brilliant. It's amazing. And the more you look into the details of the movie and you understand the bigger plan, what her mother was trying to do before she died, it's just so
Yeah.
creepy. It's so creepy.
Yeah, there's a whole
So
like
yeah, I've
element
been
of the
talking a lot
film.
about this movie.
Yeah, the whole like predeterminism or like deterministic like outlook that this film
Yeah,
has is like so daunting and so like makes you feel
true.
like you don't have any control of your life. Like I think this film does kind of um dive into like the lack of free will that we actually have, and it's really like creepy and
Exactly.
um uh deterministic way to where like everything that's going to happen in your life
Yeah.
is going to happen whether or not you can control it or not. So yeah.
Exactly. It's like everything's predestined, no
Yeah.
matter how you try to run away from it. If you're destined to be someone to like,
Yeah.
maybe like be a vessel for someone, it will happen. And this is like such a creepy thought.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, sorry, I've been going off about that movie,
No,
but
you're
I
good.
love Hereditary.
No, you could talk all day about all these movies. You have the floor. Um
Oh, thank you. Okay,
yeah.
your turn.
All right. Let's see, we're at number three, right?
Yeah.
All right. My number three is Hereditary. So
Really?
yeah, it is. So
Okay,
there you
let's
go.
go.
There you go. I'll just skip through it real quick because honestly, like you just talked about it so beautifully. It's just like pointless. But I'll say, yeah, I love this movie. I had a very, very similar reaction. And yeah, just a very similar reaction to this movie, like emotionally and like intellectually. It's just a film that just really resonated with me because of how both like evocative and provocative it is. Like it's a film that's shocking as hell because of obviously what happens in the movie, but like emotionally, it is so draining and it's just so much going on in this movie, um, emotionally speaking, that it just makes such an interest it makes for such an interesting horror experience because it combines dark drama with horror in a way that is so impactful because then you feel so much more emotion and connection to these characters in the story because of that combination of genres. And I think Ari Aster just did it fucking beautifully. Um And yeah, and in terms of presentation, I think he fucking killed it too. Like in terms of cinematography and direction and the way that this film flows. I mean, there's like a lot of simple things that he didn't even have to do, but he did it, and it just makes it more like visually and like it makes it more visually appealing and absorbing. Um, like I know there's like this one like just again like kind of like an inconsequential scene where Tony Collette's character is like walking through a hallway and the camera's like upside down and then it like swings in this weird way like back around again. And it's like
Yeah.
little things like that that just add to like the uniqueness of the
There's also like
presentation.
this shot of the camera going down in the funeral scene
Oh
into the
yeah.
soil.
Yeah.
I
Like
love that love that
such
shot.
such a creative like little thing to put in your movie. Again, you don't need to do it, but he does it and it makes it more like unique. And I'm sure like he had to, go to the studio to get that shot. So it's like, he takes his liberties where he wants to and it makes it more interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I love this movie a lot too. I love it a lot. Very traumatic movie. Like I remember walking out of it just being like, "Oh my God, that was a rough ride," but I loved every second of it. Again, I can't remember the last time I felt that petrified by a movie. Like just absolutely like still. I didn't know what to do. I just felt so overwhelmed by shock and emotions. And I can't remember the last time I felt that way watching a movie. Um, so yeah, Hereditary is so good, and Ari Aster is actually my favorite of the kind of like A24 directors. Um, I would put him slightly above like Robert Eggers and like the Safdies and stuff like that. But I love all of them dearly. It's really hard to pick, but like on a personal choice, I think Ari Aster really speaks to me because I also really loved Beau is Afraid. Beau is Afraid is a 10 out of 10 movie to me. And it's like,
Completely, it's very underrated.
oh
It's
my
very
God, yes.
underrated.
It is. It is. I mean, in some way, I can see why because it's so bizarre, and it's just like Ari Aster having the freedom to throw a bunch of ideas at a canvas, and he does that with the movie. But I just loved it. I loved it so much. It's like so ambitious and so hilarious and so dark and so creative and very absorbing. And I don't know. Beau is Afraid is a hot take, but that's actually my favorite Ari Aster movie. I would actually put that a little bit above Hereditary.
Oh,
Yeah, but
wow.
yeah, it's my
That is a
favorite.
hot take.
Yeah, it's a hot take, but I don't know. It's just so I think I'm just in love with it because it's such a long movie. Like it's 3 hours plus, but no, it's not 3 hours. It's like 3 hours on the dot, I think. And to me, it's unique the entire way through. Like it's so original the entire way through, and it's so like thought provoking and hilarious the entire way through. And I don't know. It's just such a to me that film's like a cinematic accomplishment. It really is. But anyway, I don't want to talk about Beau's Afraid too long. But anyway,
That's
yeah.
okay. I also want to add something here. I
Yep.
think each director has like this one movie in their filmography. It's just such a personal story.
Yeah.
They don't have to make it so obvious. They can say their personal stories in the most like vaguest way ever.
Yeah.
But I think Bo's Afraid for Ari Aster is such a personal story.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Synecdoche in New York or David Lynch's
Yeah.
Inland Empire or all of
Yeah.
like these
Or even
movies.
like Bardo. Like
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
movies like
it's just
that.
like mm,
Like it's just like when a director has had a point in their career where they have the freedom to just tell
do
a
whatever
very
they
like
want.
yeah, like a very like larger than life, bizarre personal story. And I
Eight
think
and a
Beau's
half,
Afraid
for
that one.
example.
Yeah, 8.5. It's also another great example. Yeah. And that is kind of like
Yeah,
Ari Aster's 8.5. Of course it would be because he's really fucked up. But
yeah,
yeah.
true.
um but yeah, that's it for me, honestly.
Okay,
We can go to number two now.
okay, number two.
Yep.
Okay, so number two on my list is another messed up movie. My second, like, most horrifying and most traumatic rewatching experience, which is Antichrist by Lars von
Oh my
Trier.
god. Let's go. Let's go.
So, oh my God, that movie, it broke me to pieces. Oh my God,
Yes.
I felt like I need to go to like a healing session I need to go like, take a book a plane, go to somewhere where there's no internet. I can just like, cry myself out of this movie. I love Antichrist. In general, I know that Lars von Trier is a very controversial director. I know that he has a lot of haters, and I know he did some questionable stuff, but I think he's a great director. He's a great director. He understands the human condition and the human horrible tendencies. Like
Absolutely.
he just loves to highlight the worst qualities about humans. For example, in Nymphomaniac or The House That Jack Built or even like Dogville, stuff like that. He just, he loves to highlight how mean people can be, just like with the worst qualities ever. And Antichrist is a movie that it has the worst beginning, like, first act.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just the beginning scene of like how this movie kickstarts itself. We're in
Yeah.
the middle of the story. You found two people and you found the kid. The kid throws himself outside of the window, and you're like, what the hell did I just watch? Is this like a dream? Is this a nightmare?
Yeah.
But this is just, the catalyst that starts like the story going. I love Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is my favorite person of all time. He's just a perfect
Yes. Oh my
person.
God.
He
Yeah.
can do no wrong.
Yes. My wife would like agree with everything you said. Like she is absolutely in love with Willem Dafoe. Me too. I love that guy so much. Not only is he such an amazing actor, but like him as a person, he speaks so like eloquently about art and film.
True.
Like he's just so well spoken as well. So yeah, I love that man to death.
And you can see like the passion of cinema oozing from him.
Oh
He
yeah.
just respects cinema so much. He wants to be everywhere at once. He exists
Yeah.
in all movies. And he has no problem being a 1 minute character type of thingy
Yep.
or the main character. He has no problem to go above and beyond just to prove that he respects cinema. And I love
Yep.
that. I love that. He's like the Tilda Swinton, like male
Yeah.
version
That makes sense. Yeah.
for me. Yeah, yeah. So, what was I saying about Willem Dafoe? Oh yeah, Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe's character in this movie, he has like the upper hand. He's a psychiatrist. He understands. Um, so let me backtrack. After the kid is, oh my God, after the kid dies, another kid dying. We have two different characters dealing with grief: a male character and a female character. Willem Dafoe's character is also a psychiatrist that refused to let another psychiatrist treat his wife. So he decided to go on a journey to kind of understand and talk the trauma out of like his wife. They're gonna talk together. They're gonna try to find a way to move forward with this family because we have to move forward. So it's just how the female versus male kind of dialogue and conversation is going on through the movie, and you can kind of understand how Lars von Trier went deeply into understanding the psyche of a woman and the psyche of a woman grieving and a psyche of a man grieving, and it's just beautiful. It's like a psychology lesson of how you can handle stuff in a different way. And some of the shots in this movie, oh my god, oh my god, just I swear to God, like there's a few times where I paused the movie and I just found myself screaming out. I was like, I love cinema, just like
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It's such a good movie, and it's
Yeah.
such a messed up movie, and it's just a love letter to humans in their most fragile form.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with any of that. I have to ask, do you have any more do you have any more to say about it?
I'm good. You can go.
Okay, only reason why I asked that is because my number two is also Antichrist.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh,
Oh
love
my, I wish I
Antichrist.
could do that.
That's why when he said that, I was like, let's fucking go. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The movie's so fucking good. And when I watched it for the first time, I liked it. I thought it was a great movie. I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. But then the more I thought about it, I realized like I can't stop thinking about this movie. I was like, every day I'm thinking about Antichrist. And I just watched it again and I was like, I think this movie's a fucking masterpiece. Like there's just so much about it that I just love. First and foremost, the opening scene to this movie, I think is like so beautifully crafted. Like it's the sequence alone makes me cry when I watch it. And I'm not even crying because like, oh, it's so sad because like the kid, the baby like jumped off the window. I mean, yeah, that's tragic, but I'm just in tears because of just how beautifully and masterfully crafted everything is. Like, you ever watch like cinema that's so just well crafted, just it brings a tear to your eye, you know? So and that's just kind of like my that's just I knew like this movie is gonna be like one of my favorites of all time. Um, and it's just so like bold too. Like we get like a close-up shot of like like an actual penis going into a vagina. I'm like, I've never seen anything like that in a movie. Like a close-up shot, like in full crisp, like showing that. It's just so like it's almost like Von Trier immediately getting the audience to realize like it's gonna be this kind of movie. So like there's no holding back with this movie. So just be prepared for what you're gonna watch kind of thing. Um and I just loved that. Like I just loved the way that the entire like beginning flows, the music, the black and white. It is just so fucking breathtaking. I love it, love it, love it. Um, and I love the emphasis that this film has on nature. Like nature is such a huge
True.
element of this film, like thematically and symbolically. Because like chaos is a huge part theme of this film, and what better to kind of express the theme of chaos than through the kind of aesthetic of nature, because nature is chaos in a way. Um, so like I just love that as well. And I love like the scenes that specifically have to do with nature. Like I like when um we get that scene of like Charlotte Gainsbourg being kind of like in this trance-like state, and we get this imagery of her like falling back into like the grass like really slowly. And it's so dark and so beautiful. And there's just so many like shots like that in the movie that just like provoke something within me that is just so, again, like unlike most horror movies that I see. And yeah, like this was a movie that I avoided for a long time because I remember seeing it on a lot of lists of like, most fucked up movie of all time. And I kind of avoided it because the way people would describe it just came off like it was just a shocking movie to be shocking. And that's the reason why I kind of avoided Lars von Trier for a while, because the way that people spoke about him was just like, oh, he's just this shock for shock's sake director. But then once you actually see his stuff, you see like there's actually like so much artistic intention, so many thematic layers to his work. And yeah, the shocking stuff is there, but I like it's not just there. I mean, yeah, like Von Trier definitely wants to get a rise out of the audience. That's definitely an intention. But, there's also like intention behind it besides that. And I think like the way he presents his themes and the way that he presents his movies kind of makes that clear that there's like a lot uh beneath the surface. And yeah, so like Antichrist was definitely one of those movies where it's like, yeah, it's super shocking and it's fucked up, but there is just a lot going on with it that I just really, really loved. Um, yeah, and again, it's a graphic movie too. Like it is so fucking
Yeah,
graphic.
all of his movies.
Yeah, basically, like I can't even
Yeah,
think of one that's not graphic. They're all pretty fucking graphic. Like
yeah,
the Dogville masterpiece as well, in my opinion. Um, and then I guess like Melancholia isn't that graphic. I mean, it's depressing as
yeah, I
hell,
would say so.
but it's
Oh,
not.
this was my first Lars von Trier movie. After watching it, I was like, oh my God. I didn't understand fully. I was really young, so I didn't fully
Yeah,
understand what's the meaning of depression and how it's like burdening you down and
yeah,
how it's like it's a condition, you know?
yeah,
So when I saw this movie, I was like, wow, he just
yeah,
understands humans so much and he understands them in their most fragile form, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And I think it's because he himself, like, he's like said that like he struggled with like severe anxiety, depression, like all his life. And I think like that really shows like with his work. And I think Antichrist captures that like pretty much in terms of like
True.
in terms of like the visceral form of depression and anxiety, like it depicts it better than any because I remember seeing like at the beginning of the movie, what the scenes where like Willem Dafoe's character is explaining panic attacks. And we get those weird like close up scenes of like their body and
Yeah,
the pulsating of like their breathing and stuff. Honestly, like that, I remember watching that for the first time and it like a damn near triggered like a panic attack for me because it just like replicates the feeling of it so incredibly well. And and yeah, like I don't know, there's just so much going on with this movie that I just really, really love. And again, it's a very graphic movie, and it's rewatchable because of that too. Like you're just like, oh man, that moment was crazy. And even though it's a fucked up movie, like I don't know, there's things about it that really make you want to come back to it as well. Um, Again, it's not gonna be everybody's cup of tea. This is not like a movie for everybody,
yeah,
obviously. So proceed with caution if you're gonna watch this movie. But
yeah. It's very poetic, and it makes you feel like the existential dread of being a human,
yeah,
Sometimes such horrible things happen to people. It's
yeah,
just so difficult. It's burdening to be alive.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Dancer in the Dark?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's Enter the Dark's a great movie. Yeah,
Do you like that one?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not my favorite Von Trier. It's
Mm.
like it's probably on the lower end like of his movies, but I still really like it. Like I probably give it like a soft 8 out of 10. But I do really like that movie. Yeah,
I saw it one time, and I honestly I wasn't such a big fan
yeah, that's
in
fair.
general. I remember I gave it a 6, but I
Yeah,
just yeah, I was just remembering some of his movies.
yeah. Dancer in the
Also,
Dark.
I love the house that Jack built.
Oh yeah, I love that
Sorry
movie.
for interrupting.
No, you're good. No, House of Jack Built
Maybe,
is like yeah, House of Jack Built so fucking good. Yeah, that's like it's probably like top three Von Trier for me. But
and this is his 8.5,
what's that?
and this is his 8.5.
Oh that's his 8.5. Yeah, exactly. That's his Beau is
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah,
but
true.
but but yeah, I mean, Dancer in the Dark is it's good. It's a good movie. But I wouldn't put it up there. I think I'm trying to think of any of movies I would put like I'm trying to think of movies that I would put below Dancer in the Dark. Um, Breaking the Waves is one that I like, but I really hated the ending, so it went like really low on my
Mm.
list. I don't know if you've heard of that one,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I've seen it in cinemas actually.
oh really? That's awesome.
Yeah, there was like a weird screening in like a very dodgy like place, and I went in there and it was amazing.
Oh well, that's awesome. Yeah, I would like to
Yeah.
experience. I mean, even though I hated the ending, I would still like to go see it in theaters. But I get a lot of shit for that. Like my everybody in my Discord likes to shit on me for saying that I hate the ending. But um, I think
Mm.
I think maybe I would put Breaking the Waves below Dancer in the Dark, and maybe like the Nymphomaniac movies, even though I like Nymphomaniac 1 and 2 as well. Um, but yeah, Dancer in the Dark, I like it, but it's like on the lower end of Von Trier movies. But I would probably still stick with like a soft 8 or something for it. Um, but I also don't like musicals like that. It's kind of hard to get me to really be in love with a musical, unless it's
Mm.
unless it's Singing in the Rain, apparently. um,
Yeah, I love singing the rain.
but anyway, yeah, Anticrisis, it's great. I think I talked enough about it, but it just blends so many things of what I love about not only film and art, but horror in it as well. So yeah, really, really, really great movie. And again, if you haven't seen it, um, proceed with extreme caution because it's a pretty crazy
True,
graphic movie and it's dark as hell. So yeah.
true.
But all right, you can
Okay,
go. Number
are you
one.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of ruined it a little bit, but my favorite horror movie is The Witch.
Hey. Yeah. Great,
I
great pick.
love The Witch. I think, oh my God, if there is like step by step of how to make a perfect horror film, it
Hmm.
would be The Witch.
I love
It's
that.
just it did every single thing in the best way possible. You
Yeah.
know, the small scaledness, but also the large scaledness of the movie at the same time, and the contrast between how it simply speaks about how does evil begin? What are the roots of evil?
Yeah.
This is such a philosophical idea, such a beautiful idea, such a large idea, and to kind of try to, depict that idea, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
First of all, okay, so let me like, okay, here's it. So, first of all, Anya Taylor-Joy. I love Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's just one of the prettiest actresses out there. Her eyes speak so much, and if you're a director, you must be in love with her because she's just a beautiful canvas for your ideas.
Yep.
And seeing her in The Witch, how she's just an innocent little girl that life is kind of just it's being too harsh on her. Something horrible happened to her. She has nothing to do with it, but she is the vessel with which she's being trained to understand what is the meaning of evil and what is the meaning of just how, again, human tendencies to do horrible stuff. And I think The Witch in general, with how it's like a very it feels like a timepiece, although it's not. It's just a timepiece. It feels like this is how actually people dressed. Great wardrobe with the witch,
Yep.
and also the ending scene with like the witches kind of flying.
Yeah.
I love
Love
that.
that ending.
Oh
So
my god,
good.
cinema.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cinema.
I loved it. Exactly,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I just think The Witch is the perfect horror film with how the story unfolds, with the soundtrack, with the direction. Again, it's a debut. Oh my
Yeah.
God. If I ever
Crazy to think
wished
about.
to be
Yeah.
someone else in another life, I
Yeah.
would love to be the dude that directed The Witch. I would love to
Yeah.
be The Witch directed by Sam.
Yeah.
Really.
Seeing
Because I
seeing
just,
seeing movies like The Witch like be a debut, it just I don't know, it makes me want to quit filmmaking. like like
true,
like I
true.
should
I
be
get it.
inspired by it. I should be like, oh, this is great. I should try to do the same. But it just makes me want to in my own head, I'm like, I'm never gonna be that talented. I'm never gonna make anything that great. So I should just give up.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I remember I just rewatched it again when I was seeing it for the second time. I was like, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
someone's first movie.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
who are you?
Yeah.
How?
Yep. Hereditary is
So
the
yeah,
same
this
way. Hereditary is just
true.
mind-blowing, debut. It's like, what the fuck? I have no idea how they
Were
had
they
this in them.
released on the same year?
No, I think Hereditary came like 2 years after that or something. I could be wrong. Let me see. I think
Okay.
Hereditary is like
Yeah, I think
2016.
you're right. I
Oh,
think
Hereditary is 2018.
Hereditary
So four
and The
years later.
Witch.
Yeah, The Witch is 2014, I believe. Let me
Oh,
see. The Witch. Oh, 2015. So three
okay.
years.
So yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, The Witch, I loved every single thing about it. I think it's a very honest movie of how like you can turn someone with like she was being bullied. She was no one was understanding her, no one was believing her, and she was
Yep.
like kind of, the black sheep of the family. And how you can turn someone into, the only resort she had to resort to being a witch, this
Yep.
was the only
Yeah.
thing where she would be accepted. I love that. I love this idea. It's such a beautiful way of putting how some people are pushed into a certain direction because they didn't feel the love and
Yeah.
comfort and safetyness that they will find with the closest people in their life.
Yeah. That's a really great observation because it's like one of those things where it's like after being accused of being something you're not for such a long time, like that has like a psychological effect on them where like eventually they're going to be like, okay, you know what? I guess I am going to be that. And they just start being that. Because like, even if I'm not that, you guys are going to you're going to tell me I'm that. So I might as well just be it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
what's the point of even trying if y'all are just going to label me whatever you want? So yeah, it's one of those endings where it's
True.
like, it's like it's like an unfortunate destiny that was going to happen because of the overall perception of her character. But
I
yeah.
totally agree. I love this idea.
Yeah, the movie, I think it's a great number one. It's an excellent number one pick. It is such a fucking great horror movie. I love it to death. It is. I already talked to death about it, but it is just again, it's a sweet, simple horror movie that is still able to achieve so much when it comes to the horror genre, and I love that so much about it. Um, the very
And I
like
think it's one
contained
of the
piece of
very
cinema.
first Yeah, and I think it's one of the very first horror movies that like started the wave of art house horror
Yep.
in general.
Yeah,
It's
I
like a cult
think
classic by now.
yeah, I think like the official first one was like the Babadook. Like I remember the
Or
Babadook was
the
the
black
Black Coat's daughter.
sheep's daughter. Yeah, Black
Yeah.
Dot's daughter. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. But the witch, I think like when it comes to A24 movies, I know the Black Coat's daughter was there, but that movie like it didn't have as big of like it wasn't as big of like a sensation as The Witch was. Like Black Coat's daughter, I feel like unfortunately kind of came and went because I actually like the Black Coat's daughter. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it is.
yeah, it is. Like I think Oz Perkins is really great with like crafting atmosphere and stuff. Like I can't wait to see his new movie Long Legs, by the way. Um,
Yeah,
but The Witch was just like a bigger sensation. I think resonated with like a lot more people. Had also had more marketing because of like, the theme of witches, I think, was more marketable. So yeah, that well, I think after The Witch, like it just started like this wave and this movement that hasn't stopped of like art house horror movies. So I love it for that as well. But but
okay,
yeah.
so what's your favorite
Okay.
horror
Here
movie?
we go. I'm not gonna lie. You could basically like interchange this with Antichrist. I go like between as my favorite like every day. It was really hard to choose. Um, but I decided for my number one, I'm gonna go with Under the Skin by Jonathan Glazer. This was a really early like art house film, like in general, not even just horror, but like art house film that I watched when it first came out. I think this is 2014. Yep, 2014. And it's one of those movies that I watched again early on in my like film discovery journey, and all I knew that it was like a sci-fi horror, and I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And at the time, I knew I knew like plenty of filmmakers by name, but only like the really famous ones. Like my favorite filmmaker at the time was Stanley Kubrick. He's still my favorite filmmaker. But like, I only knew like Kubrick, Tarantino, Fincher, Nolan, all those people. And then,
Mm.
since I started getting more into film, I started, researching about more films coming out and all that stuff. And I saw trailers for this movie and I was like, this looks so fucking cool. And like they like name dropped Stanley Kubrick as like in terms of style. And I was like, okay. And I watched it and it was such a unique experience. Like this was like a draining experience because of just how like haunting and absorbing the whole thing was. Like every single scene is drenched in so much atmosphere and style, and it's such an experimental and slow movie too. Like this is again, like when I watched it at the time, I wanted to like go on top of a mountain and like just shout it and like tell everybody like watch this fucking movie. But at the same time, I felt like it was hard to recommend, at least around the circles that people that I knew.
True.
Like I was like nobody that I know personally, I feel like would enjoy this movie. So it was kind of hard, but in general, I just love how creepy and quiet this movie is. The score by Micah Levy is insane. Like it is so fucking great. Um, I heard there was like screenings of this with like a live orchestra in LA or something, and I was like, I would kill.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have loved to see this movie with a live orchestra. Like that's like a dream come true or a nightmare come true, I guess, because of how dark the fucking movie is. But it is, I just love it so much. Like Scarlett Johansson in this movie is perfect, like perfectly casted. Like it is because this film is about like the kind of like superficiality of beauty and how our attraction towards somebody's outside is again very superficial and can lead us down very dangerous paths. Like the whole thing is like she's luring men in, to basically harvest their organs or something for we don't know because the film doesn't really like make it clear. But all we know is that she's luring men in to harvest their organs, and she all she has to do is show her pretty face and be like, "Hey,
Amazing.
yeah, just come home with me," and they just do it. It's like so easy. And it shows you that like it judging solely based off of that is very dangerous, and it's it's not the right way to go about things. I mean, yes, like physical attraction matters for sure, but to put so much stock in it in that way and so much trust in it in that way is it's just a very like flawed thing that all of us humans really have. And um I don't know. I just love the way that this film conveyed that and through like the score and the atmosphere and the visual presentation. Oh my God, like the visuals in this film are so good. I love the opening to this film. Like the opening with this like this weird, it looks like a creation of like an eyeball or something. I still don't really know what it is, but it's just like all these weird like abstract images coming together. It looks like some sort of like being is being created or something, but it looks very like cosmic at the same time. And it's just a very like it's a very artistic and absorbing way to hook your audience right out of the gate. And again, it's not going to be a movie for everybody because it does move quite slow. But to me, every second of this is precious. Every second of this is engaging. And it's quite a disturbing movie, too. Like the ending to this movie is, I mean, in terms of how it's shot, in terms of visuals, it's beautiful. But in terms of content and like what actually happens, it's tragic. Like it's really, really tragic and disturbing. Um, Again, like just Scarlett Johansson's character being alone in the woods and like she's an alien, so she's kind of ignorant to human behavior. She doesn't really know what dangers, like how dangerous it actually was to be a pretty woman in the woods alone like that. And um it's so funny to bring this up because I don't know if you're aware of like the whole like social media trend, with like men getting upset because women were choosing to be alone in the woods with a bear rather than a man. I don't know if you
Oh
know about
yeah,
that.
yeah. I know.
But it's funny because like this movie kind of makes should make men understand why some women would choose a bear rather than a man. Um, because like with that entire ending, it's just like it is frightening. It is absolutely frightening. And then just the imagery of like Scarlett Johansson, like we see like her like silky like alien self, like the black mass or whatever it is, and just the way that entire thing is shot, it's so symbolic, it's so meaningful. And that ending shot that when it pans up to the snow falling down, I mean, it is again, that is cinema. Like this is cinema right here. And it's so beautiful, but yet so tragic and harrowing. And I fell in love with it. Like when I watched it for the first time, I just remember thinking, especially at the time, I have never seen a movie like this. It was very early on in my film discovery journey, and helped me like view films in a different way. I mean, I love films for the art of it too, but be accustomed to you know perceiving films on a more thematic and metaphorical basis rather than just like waiting to see what happens next in the story. um, so yeah, Under the Skin. That's again, you could really interchange that with Antichrist, but
Christ.
yeah, like because I love them pretty much both equally. But just because it came earlier, like in my film discovery journey, I kind of have more personal connection to it because of that. But yeah, that's my favorite of all of the 21st century.
I loved what you said about this movie. It was such like beautiful speech, honestly.
Thank you.
Well, I can talk about Under the Skin, but I
Yeah.
can talk about it as my first honorable mention because it
Oh,
is my
beautiful.
first honorable mention.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, Under the Skin, this is a unique movie. I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was really young. I was like 14, 15 or something.
Hmm.
And I didn't understand exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
I kind of understood when I rewatched it. But the first time I was like, I didn't understand what's happening. All I understood is that this movie is from the point of view of a non-human species. And
Mhm.
and it's just this alien is observing what is it like to be human. And
Yep.
this is just a beautiful thing. I think this movie depicts what makes us human in the best way possible, in the most flawed way possible. How like the people that she keeps luring in, how they have different accents, different ways of trying to flirt with her. How like some of them are like refusing, how some of them are trying to be nice, how like some of them are complimenting her. All of these very, you know I can't find, for a lack of a better term, just cute.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
humans can be cute,
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, it's such a beautiful thing. And how there are so many shots in this movie of just a street, people crossing a street, someone
Hmm.
sitting on a bench, a
Yeah,
bird that's just landing on someone's shoulder. It's
yeah,
just such a beautiful sneak peek into what is it like to be human and how it's very messy. It's very not nice. There's a lot of not nice things about being human, very
yeah.
unpleasant things. But after all, we're just very fragile, cute little creatures trying to like, get a smile from a stranger. We're trying to like be polite sometimes. I just felt like um, I was falling in love with what is it like to be human
Hmm.
because I was seeing it from a third person, a
Yeah,
very objective person who doesn't understand like what are these people and why are they not, robotic or like doing the
yeah,
same thing. Every single person speaks in a different way, flirts in a different way. It's just beautiful.
yeah. And
And
oh yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry, no, 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 no. You continue.
No, I was just one little comment. I was gonna say like I love that. Yeah, like you said, like we're seeing like an outsider perspective. The film is shown through like an outsider perspective on the human race, but I think through this perspective, it also kind of makes the human seem alien. Like she's the alien, but like we almost have this like extraterrestrial view of how we actually are ourselves. Like we're just really weird, and the way that we act is like
Yeah,
again like something
exactly,
that's like not
exactly.
normal in a way.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it just sheds light on the idea that being human is not just looking like a human. You can
yeah,
look like a human, but you will never understand what is it like to be human except when you observe how like this weird little cute creatures are just trying to survive this world.
yeah,
It's just beautiful. And I think what else? Oh yeah, the cinematography in general in this movie. I was just gonna say something similar to what you said. Before watching that movie, I was seeing great movies, but they're just like mainstream a little bit. And when I saw this movie, I just understood that there is a new layer of cinema. There's a cinema that I have not seen yet, and the cinematography in this movie is just such beautiful. Just oh my god, it's really 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 pretty. Just
yeah.
the web or like the black
Oh
oil
yeah,
thing when which she
beautiful.
just gets people to just sink in, and then someone is like flying into it and then they explode, and then
Yeah,
this person that is human that you've been observing that the main character has been talking to, suddenly he fades away, he doesn't exist. And it just grounds you as a person that you
yeah,
feel every single day you wake up and you feel like you're the biggest person ever. You
yeah,
have so much to do. You're like a huge part of this world. But this scene makes you feel like you are in the best way possible. You're just nothing. You're a
yeah.
little, little, little dot, and you can just vanish in a second.
Yep, exactly.
It's
And I
such
love the
a
way it's because of the way it's shot too. Like I think the Black Abyss like aesthetic and the cinematography like really encapsulate that nothingness feeling. Um, like I love the shot by the way, like when the guy gets sucked in under like the black ooze or whatever it is, and we get this like shot that comes like from his perspective, and we see Scarlett Johansson like walking on the top like that, and it's such
yeah.
a weird like trippy shot. I guess they like got beneath like some glass or something and she's walking. It's a crazy looking shot. Um, but it's shots like that I think really like enhance that really like existential dread in the movie because I absolutely agree.
I totally agree. Yeah, and I also read and understood that there are some of many of the scenes in which she's picking up strangers are unscripted. And
Yeah, it
I
is.
love that. I love this. I love this idea because it just it makes you feel the tension or the awkwardness of like Scarlett Johansson talking to a stranger. Literally, Scarlett Johansson, the actress, is talking to a strangers,
Yeah,
trying to make him flirt with her, and so she can like pick him up. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
It adds a new layer of authenticity.
yeah. Like Scarlett Johansson herself, like the actress, is talking to these people on the street. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's very like it has very little dialogue, but it's just all of the dialogue is just people initiating conversations with each other, and you can see like how the direction will take her as a person who's just going completely on improvisation.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I love the scene that like basically kind of sparks something within her, like alien psyche or whatever, where like, she comes across the dude with like the really deformed face, and it's like through that situation, she was able to develop, I guess, some sliver of like empathy of some kind. And it made
Exactly.
her actually think about what she's doing. And that was like,
Yeah, exactly.
that was a second where a part of actually being human kind of slips into her or into who she is. And then from that point on, it's like, she's on this whole like discovery, scene by scene kind of thing where she experiences, compassion and love from another man. Like where there's like a puddle, there's like a big, like giant puddle there, and he just carries her and he walks in the puddle instead. And it's just this really like, again, she gets to experience humanity in all of its forms, which is why like by the end of it, she has to deal with the rapist in the woods. And it kind of comes full circle because the whole not the whole movie, but at least in the first act of the movie, she spends all of her time hunting men, and then now in the woods, the man is hunting her, and she's helpless. And I love like the way that it comes full circle like that.
And she understood what sort of feelings she made the victims feel.
Yep.
And that for her was like a very creepy realization.
Yep.
She was just looking at us or like humans in general as a mission. We don't know what she's doing, but we just understand that she's on a mission. She's doing
Yep.
something with this, like whatever that she takes. So yeah, I love that movie. I really love that you put it on your first choice. Really.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love it to death. It's just such, I don't know, it's just such a brilliant and unique and honestly like pretty unsettling movie. Um, which is important for a horror movie to do. Like, and it's hard. It's really hard to make me feel like genuinely unsettled. But it's a difficult task. But when it's done, like I really appreciate and admire a film to be able to do that. Um, all right. Let's go with our honorable mentions. If you want, I'm probably just gonna like I'm not gonna speed run it, but I'm just gonna go kind of like down it a little bit quick. I don't want to like go on each one and have a whole spiel on each honorable mention. I'm just gonna be like, okay, quick thoughts, quick thoughts, quick thoughts, quick thoughts. And then if you want, you can go down
Okay,
the
sounds
line with
perfect.
yours too, if you like. Um,
Perfect.
all right. First one is The House That Jack Built. Um, I basically just kind of had to choose a Von Trier film, and obviously I like Antichrist more, but like House of Jack Built is another like very like I mean we talked about it a little bit here, but just a really like ambitious and personal horror film from Von Trier. Just very like I just love how shameless Von Trier is with this movie. Like he's just everything that everybody has says, or it's basically like a compilation of how he thinks people perceive him, which is this very narcissistic and horrible person, and shoves it all to this one character. Um, but yeah, really, really good. That's also not gonna be for everybody. I mean, every Von Trier movie is gonna be divisive, like by nature. Um, but there's one, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, uh, from Lanthimos. So I'm actually wearing a Killing of a Sacred Deer shirt. But
Oh,
yeah, I
love
would say
it.
the Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's like
Wow.
yeah, it's like spaghetti, and
Very
then like
nice.
the bottom of
Yes.
it. Yeah, but
Love it. I'm wearing a
but
Star Wars shirt because
hey,
I'm a huge
that's
Star Wars fan.
yeah. When you said that the other day, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh shit, Star Wars. All right. I'm not the biggest
Oh
Star
yeah,
Wars
like
fan,
you
but
see like Baby Yoda.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what he told me that you ordered right recently, or
Yeah, can I show you something real quick? I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I gotta show you this because this is like my heart and soul. You know, if you touched it like this,
Uh-huh.
it speaks. And if you didn't like harsh enough, it tells you to stop. What? Wait. And it uses the force and everything. Wait, I'm trying to get it to read. Yeah, here it goes. He's using the force.
That is that is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Oh
That's
yeah. Oh my
crazy.
god. Oh my god, that's my little
That's
baby.
that's wild, dude. That's really cute though. That's wild.
Thank you.
I did not when I looked at that, I thought it was
Yeah, oh
just a
my god.
normal like whatever, like a normal like Baby Yoda thing. That's really cool. Um
Thank
yeah.
you.
But yeah, I didn't figure you for like a Star Wars fan. So when he said that, it kind of caught me off guard.
Okay, I have a Star Wars shelf. You can see here it is.
Oh
I
yeah.
have like Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Darth Vader, and like a bunch of Star Wars stuff that I've been books and stuff.
That's really neat. I'm honestly not a really big Star Wars fan, but but
I've been like dealing with that for myself. I haven't seen a huge Star Wars fan like me.
yeah. But I appreciate what it's done in terms of like cultural impact of filmmaking. And I don't even hate it. Like I remember liking The Force Awakens a lot, honestly. Like when I watched it, I was like, The Force Awakens is good. The Last Jedi,
That's a
honestly,
divisive movie.
what The Force Awakens?
Yeah, or the trilogy, the new trilogy in general.
Yeah, the new trilogy, yeah.
Mm,
Um, but I don't think I've seen as divisive of a movie as The Last Jedi. Because like The Last Jedi, I remember watching the movie and thinking it was a really good movie. Like I was like, that movie was so different from like most Star Wars movie that I've seen, and it just took risks in a way that I didn't expect. So I was like, honestly, I walked out of that being like, I like The Last Jedi. But after I came out and said that, like I just like everybody was like, how could you like that piece of shit movie? That movie sucks. And I was just like, I don't understand what was so fucking offensive about it. But
yeah,
from what I remember, I like The Last Jedi. But
The Last Jedi is a great movie. I love the trilogy, and I don't know why people are just like, you know, just not letting like Star Wars fan be.
yeah, and even like the last Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
That movie, I didn't really like it, but I didn't hate it. But like, there's people that like really hate that movie like a lot. They fucking hate it to death, and I'm like, it's like a to me, it's just like a non-offensive movie. Like it's to me, it's not really good, but it's not like all that bad. It's just kind of like in the middle for me.
I also loved that one. I just think if you're like a director that's going to handle such you know, a legacy,
Yeah,
you're bound to find lots of people not on terms with you, you know?
yeah, that's true. I mean, Star Wars is so huge. It's almost like an impossible task to please everybody when it comes to shit like that.
Exactly.
Um,
Again, sorry for interruption.
no, no, you're good. You're good. Um, so another one I put here was Cachet, but it's only because I don't consider it a full-on horror movie. Um,
Okay.
like if Cachet was, I consider Cachet more like a dark drama suspense thriller movie, more than like more than a horror. But there's horrific moments in it. It's just not a full-on horror movie. But Cachet is actually like in my top five favorite movies of all time. Cachet is like one of my all-time
Deserves
favorites.
it.
Yeah, so good. Um,
That's really nice.
Irreversible is a movie that I have an honorable mention. But again, I only didn't put it because I don't really consider that to be like a horror. Like it has horror elements, but I don't know if it's a full-on horror movie. So, but I love that movie. That honestly, that I watched that. I rewatched it in uh 35, and it was oh my god, like that was probably one of the most impactful theatrical experience I've ever had. To watch it in that film format, like it's like the perfect format to watch it in a theater. It really affected me. Um, and then you have Climax. I was gonna put Climax on here, but again, I remember when I made my top 10 like A24 horrors, I included Climax as like my number one. But um, I don't know. There's a lot of people in the comment section being like, "Oh, it's not really horror. Da, da, da. It's like kind of horror, but not really." And I kind of heard them out. I'm like, okay, it's not a full on horror, but there's horror elements to it. So, but just this time, I was like, let's just not include it. But I love Climax. That to me is a masterpiece. That's a 10 out of 10 movie. Um,
I agree.
The Lighthouse. I love that movie. It's great, but I like The Witch more, so I just put that one in here instead. Midsommar, obviously Ari Aster, love him, love that movie. But I can only pick one Ari Aster movie, so I put Hereditary because that's the one I enjoy more. Um, Martyrs. That would actually had on my list originally, and then I gave it more thought, and it didn't make the cut anymore. But Martyrs is such a fucked up movie, but it's really really good. I don't know if you've ever seen Martyrs, but
I did.
you did.
This is like one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I also
Yes.
saw it at a young age, so it traumatized
Oof.
me. I swear to God, for an entire year, I was like, it's in the back of my mind. I just can't
Yeah.
get the thought out of my head.
Yeah, it is a
I
traumatizing
remember
movie.
I saw it back to back with Salo. Oh
Oh my
God,
god.
don't like that. I
Holy
don't like
shit.
that movie.
No, I don't like that
Oh
movie
yeah,
either.
yeah. It's
I don't
just
like Solo.
too. It's just
Yeah.
too. Insert an adjective here.
Yeah. It's too shitty, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, but yeah, Martyrs is really, really great. I mean, I've only seen it that one time, like 4 years ago, but it's like stapled itself into my mind, so I remember a lot of it. Um, but yeah, that's a great one. And then the Wolf House. That's my last mention. But the Wolf House is just great. I have a whole review on that movie, like talking about how much I love it, and it's to me like the most unsettling horror animation that I've ever seen. It's all stop motion animation, and I love how experimental it is and how consistently unsettling it is. You're just always on the edge of your seat, and the craft behind it is insane. It took them like 6 years to make it or some shit. Um, but it's a really obscure movie, and not a lot of people know about it. And I appreciate you actually watching it because of my rec to you, Sammy. So and I'm glad you said you loved it too. So I appreciate
I
that.
loved it. I think this movie is so underrated. I have never heard of it before you told me, which is
Hmm.
so weird. I thought that it was like, I've seen all of art house horrors in general, but honestly, this is such a unique movie. You can see the amount of effort, the amount of time it was
Yeah,
put in it, and it's just such a unique experience in general. It's horror, but there's so much more layers to it. A political layer, and the animation is so unique. You will never find a movie. I've never seen a movie that looks like this.
yeah,
And when you told me, and I saw your review about like what was the process of doing that and how everything was life sized, this is just, oh my
yeah.
God. Some people are so in love with cinema.
Yeah, everything is life size. I can't even think about trying to accomplish a project like this. It's just too overwhelming and too much work. I would probably just die of a heart attack by the end of it, all the stress.
Literally.
Yeah, it's just insane to think that they went to that length to make this movie in that way. Um, so yeah, I'm glad that you loved it because I love it dearly. I think like in every way, like in terms of horror, it achieves like real it achieves what I love in horror, and then it's like so much of what I love about the art of filmmaking is in that movie too. So it's a shame that more people don't know it. Like even again, like I don't blame you at all for not hearing about it because there's like so many film lovers out there who don't have never heard of this movie. And for some reason, it's just so under the radar. Don't know why, but it's a shame.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I saw it, I just felt like it's like a darkly crafted fairy tale or something in the best way possible. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. Well, all right. You can go with your little list if you'd like.
Okay, let's go. So, I'm just gonna say, like, the first thing that there are a lot of similarities between both of our honorable mention lists, but I'm
Okay,
excited for that
cool.
one.
That sounds awesome.
Okay, so I added two Gaspar No movies. Also,
Okay.
I was on the fence. Before I tell you my honorable list, I just have to mention something. Choosing a horror movie is kind of tricky because horror genre now has evolved so much into being a horror drama
Yeah.
or like a horror thriller or a psychological horror.
Yeah.
So there's like crafting this list was kind of hard because I don't know what exactly is considered horror.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's tough because like you're always gonna get people in the comments like in the comment section being like, "Oh, that's technically not a horror movie. That's more of a suspense thriller
of
movie or
course,
whatever." But like it's just tough because a lot of it is just about how you perceive it. So like Climax to
exactly.
me is more of a horror movie because I felt dread through like almost all the experience. So like if I feel that feeling throughout most of their runtime, then I feel like it's more of a horror. Um, you know,
Exactly.
so I don't know. It just depends on how one perceives it. I mean, obviously there's like a fine line. Like, someone's not, if someone says that like, I don't know, Star Wars Episode One's a horror movie, I'd be like, okay, I don't know about that. Maybe it's a horror movie because you hated it so much and it was a horrible, I don't know, but
And you have to sit right through
yeah, yeah, terrific. But, in general though, it is about like, your experience with the material. So it's tough.
Yeah, when I was really cornered, I had to just like resort to the idea is that of my natural instinct. I was like,
Yeah.
if it felt creepy, if I was scared, then it's horror.
Yep. That's fair.
Okay, so the two Gaspar Noé movies, Climax and Irreversible.
Oh, hell yeah.
I
Yep.
think, yeah, I think Gaspar Noé in general was my favorite director for the longest time.
Oh, hell
That
yeah.
dude is insane. He
Yeah.
has no limits, no boundaries. He can do like everything he wants.
Yep.
And Climax is it was such a claustrophobic movie, and I felt dizzy and like I just felt like I am in a place with people, it's too loud, and it's just so many horrible things keep on happening. And then again, in Irreversible, of course, there's like this very famous rape scene in Irreversible.
Reversible. Yeah. Oh my God.
That,
That scene.
oh my God, oh my
Yeah.
God, oh
That
my God.
scene, watching it again in theaters, watching that again in theaters was like the build up to it. Because I hadn't seen it like 3 or 4 years since the first time I saw it. The build up to
Same.
it, I was filled with so much panic. Like I felt like I was about to have a panic attack because I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. And it just filled me with so much adrenaline. It was insane. And then the scene itself, it provoked such an
It's
emotional,
too
angry
long.
reaction out of me. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
seeing it done for so
it's too
long
long
really
and it's
does something.
uncut.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like some people, the worst thing ever is that some people are just like, in the background.
Yeah.
They
Oh my
come look
God.
at what's happening and then they just
Just
leave.
leave.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Oh my
Yeah, so
God.
Irreversible, like, this is like the scariest, like, real
Yeah.
horror movie that could actually happen and stuff like that. I just think that Gaspar Noé is a brilliant director. He's
Yep.
so versatile with his usage of camera. And again, he just also showcases the worst side of humans.
Yeah, absolutely. In a very, Lars von Trier fashion, kind of dives into like humanity's worst flaws. Um, and yeah, Gaspar Noé, he's in my top 10 favorite filmmakers of all time. Like, I just love him he is such a fucking brilliant director, in my opinion. Like, definitely up there as
Yeah,
my
he's
favorite.
such a boundary pushing director. Yeah,
Yep.
each movie he makes, you feel like there's a new part of cinema is unlocked.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also added funny games.
Oh, good pick.
I would
Yeah,
have,
it's a great pick.
yeah, I would have loved to choose the original, but of course we stuck with the 21st century.
Yeah.
So I had to choose like the Tim Roth and what was he called? Oh,
No,
Nicole Kidman.
Naomi Watts, I think.
Naomi Watts.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God, I completely blacked out.
it's okay.
Um, I think Funny Games is a movie that I nearly had a panic attack watching. It's just too realistic. It could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And the two dudes, oh my God, these
Yeah.
two faces. I remember I saw it as a child. I was not even a teenager. I was a child. And it was on TV, and I was sitting beside my mom. And then she didn't know the movie, so we were just like, funny games. Sounds fun, right? So I was sitting beside her and we were watching it. And then as things went weird, I started having questions. I was like 8 or 9. So I remember I started asking my mom, like, why is he doing that? Why is he looking like that? And then when she felt cornered and she felt like this is not child appropriate, she was like, I'm gonna close it. But I remember the questions I had kept on lingering
Yeah.
until I was 16 or something, and I had to Google which movie was that, and I found it that way again, and I
Uh-huh.
rewatched it a few times after that. But this movie is messed up. This movie is messed up.
Yeah.
Every single aspect about it.
Absolutely. I love so like Michael Haneke is like one of my favorite directors too. He's in my top 10. Um And this one, this is what, well, I'll just say what I love so much about this movie is that it's fucked up, but in one way, he's almost like in the process kind of shaming audiences for wanting to watch fucked up shit. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's a theme that exists in a lot of Michael Haneke movies.
yeah,
He knows that you want to see violent stuff. He knows you want to see some nasty stuff.
yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, in a lot of his movies, a lot of the violence and stuff is like off screen. And it's the same with like funny games. Like almost all the violence, except with the exception of like I think one scene, um, like almost all the violence is utilized through like off-screen space, audio, and stuff like that. Or we kind of just see like a little bit of it, but not all of it because it's like off screen. And I think that's like a really
True.
like brilliant way to say like, you don't actually need to see things so like, grotesquely on screen in order to feel the impact. And that's like a really great like examination of what he does throughout the entire movie.
Definitely. Definitely. So next off, I had Lighthouse, but
Yeah.
same as you, I wanted to just put The Witch instead.
Yep.
But I think Lighthouse, it's just some days I wake up, The Lighthouse is better than The Witch, and other days I
Yeah.
wake up, it's vice versa.
Yeah.
I
I
saw The
understand that.
Lighthouse in an opera. It was like a one-time screening in Egypt in an opera, and it was like on a stage, and there was like
What?
at least 500 people. Oh yeah, it was crazy.
I didn't
It
know
was
that
like
was
a
a
once in a
thing.
life experience.
I didn't know that
Me
existed.
neither. Yeah,
That's
it
crazy.
was crazy. It was on a stage, and they had to like kind of use specific sound systems because so people can actually hear the movie in the best way possible. So there was sound surrounding us everywhere. There was 500 people. They were all silent. No one is talking. Everyone is like fully invested in the movie. It was one of the best cinematic experiences I've ever had.
That's awesome. That's such
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that. I'm trying to imagine a lighthouse opera. That sounds crazy. I really wish I could experience that.
Yeah, it's so unique. I also there was another screening and the only screening for The Irishman. Oh, it was also in the same opera.
Oh, interesting.
It was completely for free. It was at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on
Wow.
a normal day. It was not even the weekend. And I went there at 6 and there was a huge line of people waiting and it was such an experience. It's during
Dang.
the Cairo International Film Festival.
That's crazy. The Irishman's a great film too. I love that
Oh yeah.
movie. um,
Yeah, true.
yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, and the final oh sorry.
No, that's it.
Okay, the final two movies, Midsummer, best breakup horror movie ever. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
And Mother, the Bong Joon-ho movie.
Oh, dude, I love Mother. That's a 10 out of 10 movie for me.
That's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
That's a perfect movie.
Yep. That's my favorite Bong Joon-ho movie, actually.
Well,
It's hard to
uh,
choose.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
like
yeah, but
yeah, because like Memories of Murder is like so fucking great. So it's
the
hard.
ending of that movie is the
Oh,
best ending ever.
it's so haunting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
because
it.
like when the little girl went up to him and he's like, how does he look like? And she's like,
Yeah.
he looks like everyone.
Yeah.
And now like the movie, it all just like clicks, the
Yeah.
idea of the movie.
Yeah. I love that you have
So yeah, this is my
Mother on there. That's so good.
yeah, I was kind of worried when I say mother, you would think of the
Darren
Aronofsky
Aronofsky.
movie. Well,
Yeah. I mean
yeah, exactly.
I like that movie too though.
I like it too, but
Yeah.
it's not one of my favorites. I would give it like a 7 or an 8.
That's fair. Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
like I mean the Bong Joon-ho Mother is much better. Yeah, but that's another one of those things where like I can see tons of people being like, it's not a horror movie, so why is it on the list or whatever. They would say, oh,
Yeah.
it's more mystery, suspense, thriller, but there's horror moments in it though. It's like definitely horror moments in it, so it can be tough. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was my honorable mentions. I'm all good.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, damn, man, we
I
talked
had a
about
great time.
we talked about a lot of fucking bangers. This was a lot of great films, a lot of kino, a lot of horror kino today. And it was a
Yeah,
blast
I
talking
think the
about all
first
of them.
thing I'm gonna do,
Mhm.
yeah, me too. First thing I'm gonna do, I think I will rewatch Mandy.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think I'm gonna rewatch probably I Saw the Devil. Like just hearing you
Oh
talk
my
about that.
God, my prayers and my thoughts goes out to you.
Yeah, because it's been such a long time since I watched it, and then just hearing you talking about it really really is like pushing me to rewatch it again. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna probably gonna watch it. I don't know when. Hopefully, sometime next week I'll watch it and I'll get back to you. So, but yeah,
Yeah, same. I will also rewatch Mandy and come back to you on as well.
awesome. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. I had an awesome time. Thank you so much for coming on my channel, Sammy. It was an honor. Um, you know,
The honor was all mine. I had a great time. Really, really. Thank you for giving me the chance and the time to talk about like some of the best movies ever made.
absolutely. No, it was my pleasure. Definitely we should do this again at some point. We can
I
collab.
would love.
Yeah, we could just keep picking other topics or whatever and you know, and just go from there. But I'm glad we picked a horror to talk about for the first time, which was your
Yeah,
idea, by
me
the
too.
way. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
shout
my
you
favorite
out.
genre.
Yeah, it's pretty much my favorite genre too. So yeah, I appreciate you helping come up with the topic because I think it was a good one.
I
But
also, during
mhm.
my rewatch run, I saw some of your shorts. I loved it. Specifically
Oh,
Solita. I love that one. And the red egg. Oh, I love it.
thank you so
Really.
much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You're yeah,
You're most welcome.
I saw your review that you did on Letterboxd for
Letterboxd, yeah.
so I think it was Solita you did. But yeah, yeah, great review. Appreciate all the feedback. It really warmed my heart. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. No problem at all.
Also, quick little shill out to everybody if you're still here. If you want to join my Discord server, anybody who's watching, you can talk to film lovers all across the globe. We have movie nights and stuff. Like every Friday, we have a movie night. We have film. Instead of a book club, it's like a film club. So we'll all watch a movie, and then we'll all talk about that same movie on Saturday. Sometimes we'll talk about early bird movies on Mondays. It's a pretty active Discord. We got a lot of cool Kino stuff going on. So if you want to join that, it's $5 a month on Patreon. And yeah, that's my little shameless show there at the end for everybody. But but all right. I guess I'll let you go. Thanks to everybody watching, and thank you, Sammy, for joining. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I hope you have a great day. Oh,
You
great
too.
night. Yeah.
Oh
You're
yeah,
forgetting
good night.
you're in Egypt. All
Oh
right.
yeah, it's 10:30 p.m. now.
Oh damn, it's about 3:30 for me. I still got a whole day.
Kind of exciting.
Okay. Well, all right. Have a good night.
Thank you.